If Week 4 was any indication, Packers RB Aaron Jones is in position to see more touches and production in Week 5. Morrigash Associated Press, by John Romero. John Romero email bio follow October 5 at 9 a.m. Need some quick tips to assemble your fantasy lineup for Week 5. We've combed the far reaches of the internet and culled only the choicest fantasy tips and advice for your consumption. Below you'll find easily digestible nuggets from multiple fantasy experts, addressing some of the critical situations fantasy owners will face from week to week. Dig in and dominate the fantasy football players you need in your Week 5 lineup. Injuries. Geronimo Allison, WR, Packers. Allison has been producing nicely for Green Bay, but suffered a concussion and may not be able to play in what would be a very attractive matchup against the Lions secondary. Monitor his progress, but obviously start considering other options if you had hoped to have him in the lineup. With Randall Cobb also banged up, rookie Marquez Valdes-Scantling could be looking at a lot of playing time in Week 5. Giovanni Bernard, RB, Bengals. Bernard could miss Week 5, but Cincinnati also is getting back Joe Mixon, so either way his production is going to take a hit. Matt Breida, RB, 49ers. Breida entered Week 4 banged up and without his starting quarterback, but he played a season-high 38 snaps. While he was limited in Wednesday's practice, he would seem to be an RB2 flex play against the Cardinals in Week 5. Chris Carson, RB, Seahawks. Carson failed to practice Wednesday, which is also what took place last week. Combine that with Mike Davis's performance filling in for Carson in Week 4, and now owners have to worry about Seattle cutting back Carson's snap count in an effort to keep him fresh. The Seahawks face the Rams, and it would be in their best interest to keep the Los Angeles offense off the field. Carson could help out immensely if that's the case, but owners will need to monitor his status as he could be another game-time decision. Alex Collins, RB, Ravens. After going through limited action in practice Wednesday, Collins did not practice Thursday as his status gets murkier heading into the weekend. If Collins can't go, Javorius Allen would be in line to see an uptick in touches. Given that the opponent is Cleveland, which is banged up defensively, it's a decent matchup, no matter who lines up in the Baltimore backfield. Leonard Fournette, RB, Jaguars. Jacksonville will be without the services of the second-year tailback as he aggravated his hamstring injury in Week 4. It's too bad since it was an attractive matchup against the Chiefs. TJ Yeldon should see the bulk of touches and has a chance to provide strong production. Fantasy football start-sit tips for Week 5. Start Redskins QB Alex Smith against the Saints. Devonta Freeman, RB, Falcons. Atlanta gets Freeman back this weekend, and his owners shouldn't hesitate to put him right in the lineup for what figures to be a shootout with the Steelers. Marquise Goodwin, WR, 49ers. A quad hamstring injury continues to bother Goodwin, whose production has been minimal thus far. He should not be any lineups. Joe Mixon, RB, Bengals. Mixon is set to return in Week 5 and Giovanni Bernard, see above, who performed nicely while Mixon was out, could miss this weekend's game. That means Mixon could get a big workload versus the Dolphins on Sunday. Fringe starters. Dalvin Cook, RB, Vikings. Cook had just 10 touches in the Week 4 loss to the Rams, and as Week 5 approaches, he acknowledges he's still not quite 100%. Those that own Cook have been forced to use other options, and that's probably best for Sunday's matchup against the Eagles as well. Owners looking for a light at the end of the tunnel can take comfort in an upcoming schedule that is very attractive. Those looking for RB help might consider making a pitch to acquire Cook while his stock is low. While some owners may not have better options at RB2 flex given potential injuries and bye weeks, Cook can hardly be a recommended play. Aaron Jones, RB, Packers. The time has finally arrived, I think. Following a suspension and weak performance by teammate Jamal Williams through the first few weeks of the season, Jones finally forged ahead with his Week 4 effort. While Jones only finished with one more touch than Williams, 12-11, he did much more with his, in tallying 82 total yards and a touchdown. Jones was in the same position a year ago, when he appeared to seize the number 1 spot, only to see an injury open the door for Williams. Jones never really got back in the mix, but that is a distant memory as there's a lot to like about the 23-year-old tailback. He should be in all lineups with a promising matchup against the Detroit Lions in Week 5. NFL Week 5 Fantasy Football Player Rankings. Cooper Kupp, WR, Rams. This is more belated take on Kupp cementing his status as a weekly starter. Following a solid season in 2017, certainly Kupp was a player with upside to warrant spot starts, but fantasy owners had to contend with where Kupp was in the Rams' pecking order. With Todd Gurley, Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks getting their share of touches, it was hard to imagine how much offense was left over for Kupp. So far in 2018, QB Jared Goff has attempted 20 more passes through the first 4 weeks than he did a year ago, and he's also spreading the ball around with Woods, Cook, and Kupp receiving virtually the same amount of targets. Coach Sean McVay has Los Angeles clicking on all cylinders and owners can't afford to sit Kupp anymore. LeSean McCoy, RB, Bills. We featured Kenyon Drake of the Dolphins in our fringe starters area last week, exasperated but willing to give him one more week to right the ship. That did not happen. Perhaps an even bigger disappointment than Drake has been McCoy, whose average draft position was 25. Until he proves otherwise, McCoy is simply not producing enough to warrant being in one's lineup and faces a very stingy Titans defense. Lottery tickets that could pay off. Dion Lewis, RB, Titans. There has not been much to like about Tennessee's backfield production, whether you own Lewis or teammate Derrick Henry. Lewis is available in 48% of ESPN leagues. It's not so much a recommendation, but Sunday's opponent, the Buffalo Bills, have been generous to opposing running backs. For owners that find themselves in a pinch, Lewis may be worth a roll of the dice. Bilal Powell, RB, Jets. Powell is doing just enough to warrant consideration from week to week, but it's always difficult to start him as it can be a mystery what sort of production one will receive in return. He has managed no fewer than 52 yards from scrimmage in each game, and has found the end zone once. Powell owners also have to contend with his timeshare with Isaiah Crowell. The Jets host the Broncos, who are coming off a short week. Denver has struggled against the run in recent weeks, and tailbacks capable of hauling in a few receptions have had success. Powell is available in 40% of ESPN leagues.